Back in the earlier days of home consoles, cheat codes were everywhere. Developers were constantly giving you tools to absolutely break their own games, or get access to little Easter eggs if you put in a hinky little combination into your controller. Some of these combinations, like the Konami code, became so iconic that they took on almost a mythic quality. Games that didn't have any attachment to Konami at all would still reference it occasionally, they made merch out of it, people have tattoos of this thing. Fast forward to today, and the only franchise that's actually expected to have cheats is GTA. I don't want to act like cheat codes have been completely phased out of games entirely though. Doom Eternal had a cool system where you picked up cheats throughout the game as collectibles, and there's even a separate code that lets you play the classic Doom games inside of Doom Eternal. It's great. Infernax, which is a fantastic indie homage to classic Castlevania games, has some really fun ones, including a jetpack mode, and one of my favorite examples of modern cheat codes is in Sports Friends, even though it's not super new, having released in 2014. Sports Friends is a small, unique collection of party games, one of which is Johann Sebastian Joust, which is a game where you try and shake other people's controllers while trying to keep your own controller steady. An insanely fun game that's responsible for me breaking multiple PS4 controllers. If you input a specific sequence on the main menu though, you actually get access to two completely new games. The first code unlocks Get On Top by Bennett Foddy. Yes, that Bennett Foddy. A game where you and somebody else wrestle for control while joined at the hands. And the first one to hit their head on the ground or the wall or have their head kicked clean off their shoulders loses. This game is so simple, but it's genuinely some of the most fun I've had playing a two-player game ever. And the second code is a slight variation of the Konami code, and it just unlocks Pong, which is, cool I guess, but it's pretty basic. What the fuck? Still, across the board, it's undeniable that cheat codes aren't nearly as prevalent as they used to be, to the point that even some well-known cheats like the Donut Drake mode in Uncharted were phased out of that series by the newest iteration, which is 9 years old, by the way. I think the first reason for that is just how much game development has changed over the years. First of all, the fact that it's so focus grouped, optimized, and serious. Not necessarily in tone, but in structure and adherence to important design rules. So many modern experiences are built around long, fine-tuned RPG or progression systems. So giving the player an infinite money glitch would just break the entire game, which for a casual player might make them wonder why they would even spend 60 hours slowly improving when they could just type in some letters and rip through everybody. Progression systems are completely different now than they were 30 to 40 years ago. Not bad or good different, just different. On top of that, cheats like infinite lives got phased out once games started, giving you infinite lives, and the ones that didn't defined their entire identity through their finite life system. But while that's definitely a contributor to the decrease in actual functional cheats, which give you something useful in the game, what about silly cheats like a big head mode? I think that might be linked a little bit more to in-game economies. I mean, it's kind of sad, but if a game is trying to sell you skins, or even if it's giving them to you for free but it's tied to your progression somehow, tying all of the weirdest, wackiest skins and modifiers to cheat codes the player needs to look up and type in to unlock, it feels like undercutting your entire model here. I think that's why you end up seeing cheat codes in indie games a lot more than AAA games nowadays. There's just too many things to potentially interfere with to properly justify them in big budget releases. Whether it's a decision by the developers or a mandate from publishers, there's likely a long and arduous vetting process that doesn't let a ton of stuff slip through the cracks, with the only real exceptions to that being series that are nearly inseparable from cheat codes like, again, Doom or GTA. And then of course there's mods. While they're mainly on PC, these are essentially the new version of cheat codes for the modern age. Obviously a lot of them are designed to also improve the base game, but modded skins and abilities and everything else players can dream up of will usually pop up over time for any game with a dedicated audience. And to view that again with a bit of a cynical lens, why would a team add weird features themselves when they could just get free community engagement and long-term interest by letting the audience do it? That way they don't even have to deal with the restrictions that you would have to follow as its creators. Modding is a decent part of the reason that some games enjoy the longevity they have now anyways, and have maintained such strong communities as a result. Ultimately, it is that community aspect that video game cheat codes were built off of after all. There's no actual sensible reason to give a player infinite lives in a game that was specifically designed to limit those lives. The only reason you do that is to get people talking and give players a fun, unique way to interact with what you've made. It's like an inside joke where the devs are showing off some of the weird tools that they probably used to test test and debug stuff and saying, here, check this weird shit out. And at a certain point in time, these secrets would be hidden or featured in magazines or communicated through specific channels. So you were rewarded for talking about the game with other people or going out of your way to track this stuff down. But now everything is available instantly, everywhere. So cheat codes aren't like a subtle wink or a cheeky way to communicate between the developer and the player. Instead, they're just letters or arrows that have been dumped onto the internet. That need for subtle communication is gone now that it's so easy to have direct interactions with the people making this stuff. I mean, hell, at this point, we probably see too much of the developers behind games anyways, and any kind of playful back and forth between them and us has been replaced by this strained, often vitriolic relationship that dominates online discourse. I'm not saying that we wouldn't appreciate cheat codes in games if they were still around, it's just... Actually, yeah, we wouldn't appreciate them. The purposes that they once served both functionally and as part of building a broader community are long gone. And at this point, it feels like when they do pop up here and there, it's usually for novelty and nothing else. Even the basic surprise factor here is gone. At this point, how can we be impressed or shocked by secret unlockable skins using funky codes when a game like Fortnite has you playing as Thanos fighting Darth Vader while Travis Scott Millie rocks in the background? I guess part of me is sad to not have really been around for an era of games where cheat codes were a lot more prevalent, because there's this innocence and simplicity to their strangeness that I feel like we've lost over time. But they do also live on in new ways in the form of other in-game secrets, hidden details, and real-world puzzles. And the games that have tried to carry on the legacy of cheat codes have started to find unique ways to implement them, even if they aren't as common as they once were. If you're interested in watching something else from me, I just put out a video on my main channel talking about fixing the RPG problem. You can check it out right here and in the description. Subscribe for more video essay speedruns, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.